Scions of the Southland for September 22nd. There's Chad, are there any songs about the 22nd night in September?
Probably somewhere, man. Probably
Somewhere.
somewhere. If not, it's on you.
Okay, me and my perfect musician skills that I don't have quite yet. We'll write that song. Jack Purdy here. Chad, this I've seen you a lot in person in the last year. I don't know the last. I'm forgetting the last time I saw you on my computer screen because I think the last time we also recorded in person on Tech Green.
Yeah, yeah, we were
So
hanging out in person on a beautiful college campus day, if I remember correctly, and just
it
like
was
people
really good.
going to class and weather was perfect. And so now we're virtual.
Now it's stuck in our rooms, I guess. Oh well, too bad. Thanks for hopping on. It's really helpful to have you here as the other folks are. I don't know where the hell they are. They're just not here with us right now. Uh, we're gonna go through the Temple game. We're gonna go through some volleyball stuff, and then that's probably all we'll get through today. But this Temple game is interesting. Because one, we didn't play like a team that necessarily warranted moving up 2 spots in the AP poll. We moved up to 16th, but the stuff that happened above us, notably that Indiana Illinois game, uh, caused some things up there. We're ranked ahead of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Mhm.
That's a thing that you could say that's a true fact that's true now. Um, and football's the highest ranked team on campus, which I couldn't tell you the last time that happened because it was at least a decade ago, probably more. So, my actual first question is the Bishop bump still happening?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's perpetual. And it's the great thing about the Bishop bump is I can sort of choose when things are very positive to
Ooh,
say
okay.
it was all me.
Yeah.
Like the going to bowl games the past couple years and having a winning record for the Jackets, that was fine. But like this
Okay.
is the true bump. It's just been a
Okay.
little bit delayed than usual,
Yeah.
but I
Okay.
mean, it's just you're welcome, everyone.
Well, thank God. We needed it. We needed it. Ken was at this game too. Maybe that's why we felt we
Yeah.
slipped a little bit. It was like, oh, that was the Ken effect. Anyways,
It's
I've
definitely not the Brent bump, it's the Bishop bump. Let's go on record.
it's very clear. Okay. Um, a little bit about this game. So Tech scored on the first 3 drives and allowed only one first down on Temple's three drives. So in terms of how we wanted this game to go, or at least for Georgia Tech, this was perfect. Ran through the scripted plays perfectly. Evan Simon had a lot of production and he was pretty limited.
Mhm.
And then the second quarter decided to start happening. And let's pause here because the
Yeah.
first 2 drives were perfect. Things were fine. There's not really much to go over there because the second quarter was what we talked about a lot in the post game press conference,
Mhm.
and they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. They were averaging, I think, a yard. I think I had 9 total yards the entire
Mhm.
quarter, so basically a yard of play. Multiple negatives, not much, a lot of straight up play as well. Like didn't do much with motion.
Yeah.
Also, very minimal Haynes King running. He only ran
Yeah.
8 times the entire game. Uh, I'll leave it to you just to kind of see what you observe, but from the outset, it just seemed like they were off. Like they knew they could do better. It's just like they just didn't have whatever they needed in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of takeaways. I think small picture, right? We never know what's going on behind the curtain. We
Right.
never know with a 21 nothing lead what a football staff is saying in terms of, all right, let's be conservative, let's dial back, let's not run our quarterback, let's try to eat some clock. I don't know. Or if it was just um maybe Temple made some adjustments right there in the second quarter between maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it was a talking point after the game because it was so shocking for all of us to see 21 points in a row and just bang, bang, bang. And man, this team not only looks number 18 in the country, maybe they look like number 4 in the country. And then
Right.
to have
Yeah.
it just like completely reverse and go in the other direction was super, super strange. Now, what I look at it though, big picture wise, and I'm sure we'll get into this, is that a couple years ago, maybe Tech loses that game, right? Like
Uh,
maybe they stall in the second quarter and can't get out of that quicksand.
yeah.
Or maybe they get out of the quicksand and win by 21 and go dance on North Avenue, right? And so
Right.
this team
Right.
was not satisfied with either like thing happening. Like they won, but all they could think about was that second quarter and not playing Chris. To me, that was the big takeaway and the big reason that Tech fans should be really, really optimistic about this group because winning by 21, everybody should be celebrating that, but Tech wasn't. And I think that's a really, really good sign.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, there's lots of parallels to this in the Bowling Green game. You wear a
Yeah.
weird jersey game, uh, middle of the day. This game was delayed as well by a half hour for a lightning strike that nobody saw, but apparently happened. Um, and yeah, at that moment you feel a little worried. Now this is where I'm very glad Temple chose to receive to start the game
Yeah.
instead of kick away, except we just gave that all right back with a turnover on another exchange turnover. I did not have Haynes King has multiple handoff
Yeah.
fumbles in the first 4 games of the season, but we're at that point now. And that hands, I mean, Temple has short field and they score very, very easily. I might add, like that was as soft as I think the defense was the entire game. Was
Yeah.
there was just nothing to stop that, and it was a 1-score game there in the third quarter. And that's I think we get to that like, okay, is this happening again mode? Because
Mhm.
we've seen this script over and over and over again these last few years. I mean, dating back a while. Um, and you're just like, are we actually going to do this again, or are they going to turn it around? Because if they turn it around, that's in a way that this team has turned a corner,
Yeah.
um, and knows that they are playing to that level of expectation we have seen them get to and pretty much establish after beating Clemson 2 weeks ago, and they do that, which I think to your point is a good sign that hey, they are still winning by 21.
Yeah.
The ugly quarter is the ugly quarter, but at the same time they even with Evan Simon finding ways to scramble, they had like what a 30-yard fourth and inches
Mhm.
run at some point in this game too. Um, they just put it out of reach. They get it done, and may I add, with a number of backups in the game defensively
Yeah.
too. Like this was not a 100% everyone's playing game. This was not. I mean, the fact King only ran 8 times, I think, kind of leaks some of the ideas of what was going on here.
Yeah.
Um,
Listen, this is 3 games out of 4 now. Go to Colorado, 3 turnovers and 3 possessions,
yeah,
and they still win that one. They blew a 13-0 lead to Clemson. They blew a 21-14 lead to Clemson.
yeah,
And to your point, last year, 2 years ago, the entirety of the Jeff Collins era, right? Like
hmm
those games are losses for Georgia Tech. Getting up 21-0 on Temple, and say what you will about Temple, and I know they got blown out by Oklahoma, but Casey Keeler and the way he coaches and the way he runs his offense and the numbers they put up in their first 2 games,
hmm
they had ability to come back and they were
yeah.
right there. And again, a lesser Tech team is like, oh no, here we go again. But
But
again, it just seems like something is different about this squad to regroup, take a deep breath, and continue to put the foot on the pedal after letting Temple back into it and just swatting them away like no, this ain't happening today. We're a different
yeah,
team. So again,
yeah.
3 out of 4 games is just a mega step forward for this program.
Yeah, it's huge. I agree on the aspect of overcoming like they do not mentally fracture.
Mm-hmm.
That was a telltale sign of many versions of this team, and even in the early part of the Brent Key era when they weren't fully flushed of the old administration, so to say.
Yep.
Um, that it's like okay, even after that Colorado game, like after the first 2 possessions, I never exactly felt like oh no, we're screwed. It was just like that seems odd. Like that, like they
Yeah.
seemed random. They didn't seem like a symptom of how we played. It was just more of a sometimes the ball bounces funny in football, and
Yep.
anyone can get bit by that bug. Um, Malachi Hosley gets 2 straight touchdowns in this game. That was, I think, in terms of seeing the depth do its work. We know the running back position has been injured. Chad Alexander hasn't played at all. Trey
Mhm.
Maddox hasn't played, but Hosley, that man, I think I saw he had the ninth fastest sprint speed in the country of any running back this week. So that's good. That's just, if anything, just good to know that we've seen him in a few plays here and there, but Jamal's legitimately got a backup that can
Yeah.
do it, need him to do a thing.
It's and the coaches talked about that all preseason, but you don't really know until a kid gets in there. And as good as
Yeah.
Malachi was at the Ivy League level, you just never know how that's going to translate to the FBS and then the ACC.
Yeah.
But that 1-2 punch right now has been fantastic. And if you get Trelane Maddox back at some point, he's a totally different beast back there out of the backfield. And if you got 2 outstanding freshmen back there as well, waiting for their turn.
hmm
So it's that it's we asked Brent Key about it after the game, and that was his point too. Like the reason Jamal is able to have some of these breakout runs is because he doesn't have to do it all himself anymore. He's got
Yeah.
Malachi
Yeah.
next to him. And the thing that I have loved, and I don't know if you've noticed, when they're lining up with like Malachi almost in like a fullback position, and Jamal Haynes is behind center with Haynes King, And I think that's how Malachi scored one of his touchdowns on Saturday, if I remember
I think
correctly. He
that's right.
was
I
sort
think
of,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, he was sort of lined up, off center and that sort of that traditional fullback look. I mean, I love that the looks that they're giving defenses, and it's a three-headed monster now. Haynes King, Jamal
Yeah.
Haynes, and Malachi Hosley. They all have at least 200 yards rushing. What do you do if you're a defensive coordinator?
Uh, Let us win. I think that's the great. I think that's the best idea anyone could have. Um, Mostly garbage time in fourth quarter. I'm not putting much weight into that in terms of gameplay or anything like that.
No.
I think we all had a little gripe that at the final, after Temple scores with 3 seconds to go, we down the ball with 1 second to go instead of just letting the game clock
Oh
play out on the
man.
final kickoff. But that meant, who was it? JP, what was his name? Oh, where's the play? Here's the play. Nope, I don't have the play on my sheet. Anyways,
Is it
oh
JP
here,
Powell? Is that who it was?
JP, yeah, JP Powell, 61-yard rush to become the second leading rusher in the game on one carry. He beats Hosley by 2 yards.
On, on a
To take.
Yeah, on a holding call. And if Casey Keeler would have accepted that holding penalty, I think we all would have thrown our computers out the window. Thank goodness he declined it so the play could stand and we could all go home.
Yes, that. Thank God, thank God. Um, a few other observations that I had. For one, they tried to throw deep with Haynes. They
Mm-hmm.
let. I mean, there was multiple plays where Eric was open. To my
Yep.
eye, I think Haynes waited just a half beat too long to get the ball
Mm-hmm.
down there. He wasn't throwing like right uh as Eric was getting like breaking past the corner
Yeah.
for the safety. He was waiting for them to be open, and that gave time when the ball's in the air for the defender to come back and get to him. One of them did get completed. Like he had some
Yeah.
long touchdown passes in this game. Uh, I'm glad they went like we're trying that though. Like
Yeah.
because if that is unlocked, that again is another part of this offense that you got to if you can respect Haynes' arm 30 yards down the field, that's gonna change some things. That's gonna change a lot of things.
You're always putting things on film and 4 games in,
Yeah,
and now look at Wake Forest this week and saying, well, we can't bring everybody into the box. We can't bring our safeties down because we get burned by Eric Rivers and Isaiah Canyon and Malik Rutherford because
yeah,
Haynes King has proven not only this year, in years past, he can throw the deep ball. Don't, as a fan, and this, you can't get too caught up in the drops or maybe miss
no,
precision by that much this early in the season because it's there now. It's there for
yeah,
people to study and watch and worry about. And, that thing is an inch away from being completed, going for a touchdown, changes the narrative, right? So
yeah,
that's sort of the way I view things is like the plays were there, the receivers were open, they weren't executed well, but it wasn't a devastating turn of events in the football
no,
game. And now
not at all.
moving forward, right? Defenses have to prepare for that, and they'll connect on those as the season goes on. I mean, Eric Rivers, his first season, right? Isaiah Canyon's a young kid, and Haynes, probably still getting used to, to airing it out, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Right. That's true. Yeah,
it's all positive. I think those plays being on film are going to help in the long run.
fresh rotator cuff is good to have. Uh, I mean, there was multiple of those kind of things because Eric drops one ball that probably would have been a touchdown. Jamal Haynes almost had two big time
Mhm.
touchdowns where he just barely gets tripped up from the second level of
Yep.
the defense. So I mean, we were close to Tech having instead of what like 40 something plays, closer to like high 30s in play counts
Yeah.
if a few of these drives end up differently in that regard. So yeah, I mean this was close. They were changing a few things. One guy is a half second too late. We're talking close to 60 points for this team instead of 45 when it's all said and
Yep.
done.
Yeah.
Which that's against Temple where we scored 2 points last time. Amen. um, that's right. Marshall Nichols. I was going to ask about this, and I think someone else stole my question in the press room. Um, May have been you. I don't remember. And
Now, I'm not asking about punters, but go ahead.
okay, good. Okay, I like that. But that was I think that he went specialist of the week in the conference. I had been able to see him once just touring the field for unrelated reason, see him boot
Mhm.
some balls, and I was like, okay, that's wasn't nothing. I didn't really take much
Yep.
from it. But then we see
Yep.
him put the Temple down to the 1 yard line, where I was secretly hoping for the revenge safety uh, from 2019. Uh, but it made a difference. Like we didn't. It wasn't as big a thing against Clemson because we were going for fourth downs in that game, and so he didn't get to have as much of a showcase. But at least we know now, and again, putting things on film. If you're letting Marshall Nichols punt, you better be ready
Mhm.
because he will put you inside the 20, and he's got the leg to go. I think his furthest was 64 yards in this game. Uh, so I mean, welcome back to the Presley Harvin days that you missed of having an absolute beast of a punter. But here we are.
I will tell you that for much of the preseason, and you can never tell with Brent Key when he's serious and when he's joking and maybe a little bit of both.
It's
But
true.
he's
This is true.
talked about Marshall Nichols like he is the second coming of Ray Guy at times. And like, even Saturday night, right? He was like, "Hey, we get to talk about the punter."
That's
But I
true.
mean, they love the kid. I mean, they love his leg and his power and his abilities. You talk about portal pickups, right? Everybody focuses on skill athletes and
Mhm.
offensive skill players and pass rushing defensive ends. I mean, they went out and got a punter now. I mean, that kid is really, really, really good. And even special teams coach Tim Salem waxes poetic about the guy. So no secret that he had a breakout game. It was just a matter of when he was going to do it. And I mean, Tech is going to go for it a lot of times on fourth down anyway.
Yeah.
But that kid, and I've heard some pretty funny stories about him on the sideline during the game too. About, hey, what'd they say that punt was? It was way longer than that. I mean, the kid is tuned like he's all about impressing folks and getting his numbers up and being part of a winning team. And had a great career at UNLV before coming back to Atlanta from Holy Innocents in Atlanta,
Mhm.
as where Mr. Nichols is from. So yeah, another underrated portal pickup for the Jackets for sure.
Love it. I mean, that's gonna come. I mean, we're gonna play at least one team that's probably gonna make us punt every so often, and then if things really go right this season, play a few other teams that are probably gonna stop us on defense every so often.
I
And
mean,
so
there's one of those like 13-10 games coming where like nobody can score. It's like Boston
NC,
College in November against Bill O'Brien,
I'm
it's like
I'm
just punt after punt after punt.
I mean, I hope not, but I mean I mean everyone's pointing to the NC State game as the okay, here's the trouble spot of if you're
Yeah.
gonna hiccup, it's this one. I also was checking today. Wake Forest is coming off a bye. I'm not. They're no powerhouse or anything. We are 15 and
No.
a half point favorites for a reason, but still just a rest note there. Um, where are you at with the offensive line right now? Because this seemed like a not King got sacked a few times
Mhm.
in this game, which is definitely very uncharacteristic for having a fast quarterback. Uh, what have you noticed so far?
Still a work in progress, but that shouldn't have a negative connotation the way I look at it.
Mhm.
First of all, Tana, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Tupuloa. I'm sorry, Tana. Um,
Tupulola, yeah, Tupelo,
he
Ala Tupulola. Yep, there we go.
he's wearing a boot on his right foot, so we're not sure of the severity of his injury. He's the center.
Mhm.
Harrison Moore's been playing center. I wrote about Malachi Carney, last week, but he's been in and out. Jamison Riggs has been getting a look at right tackle.
Mhm.
Um, you know, Always remember how Brent Key operates. Just because you see an offensive line in game 1, 2, 3, it may not be the offensive line you see in 8, 9, 10.
Mhm.
Those guys develop. You've got Kevin P waiting in the wings, of course.
Mhm.
Josh Petty's waiting back there.
Yep.
I mentioned Jamison Riggs has got some snaps. You're going to have Keelan Rutledge dominate. You're going to have Ethan McKinney dominate.
Yep.
So they're going to keep rotating and studying that film to see who can get it done. The great news is they have so many guys stockpiled there that they can switch a lot of positions. They can run with a lot of different rotations, and they can get it done. I mean, it's still a work in progress. It's not finished or polished by any stretch, but I think
Right.
they've done well. I mean, they're still what 14th in the nation in rushing right now, third in the ACC, and some of that is because Florida State has put up like 800 yards rushing every game.
Right. Yes.
So
Yeah.
they're going to be fine, and the more games they play, after playing weight going to that bye week, I think they'll really start to solidify.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Uh, oh, what was my note there? I forgot what my note was going to be. All right, well, never mind. Uh, dang, I had a good note. That's unfortunate. Oh well.
Mm,
So good. One advanced stat note: Tech did average 8 yards to go on these late down
mm,
plays. Most of that's due to that second quarter, but then we only had 8 total late down plays in the entire game, at least
yeah,
according to Game on Paper. So take that, I think, with a grain of salt. 16 successful run plays. I think to your point of like the rushing yards are still there compared to only
yeah.
7 pass plays, but the pass plays weren't that much. We're 2 inches from 9 of them being for making that a number 9, and those being explosive pass plays as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, game of inches in some situations here. Let's see here. After this, so yes, we have Wake Forest coming up. They had a bye. That is a noon kick out there in Winston-Salem. Are you going to be out there? Are you going to this game?
Heck yeah. Driving up Friday night. I'll be second time at Wake Forest where they do not allow you on the field at all.
Really? Okay. Interesting.
Only college football stadium I've ever been to where they are hardcore about not letting media onto the field for pregame warmups.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know for our guy
But
that we're
but
sending.
great press box, great stadium, great tailgating atmosphere. I was pleasantly surprised.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
Um, we have a little bit of ACC news that came out
Mm.
mere hours ago, which is that starting next season, correct? The
Yep.
ACC is moving to a 9-game conference schedule with one mandated Power Four opponent. Georgia Tech, and for those of you that are math nerds, which should be all of you, considering the audience of this podcast, in a 17-team conference, you can't have everyone play 9 conference games and have the math work out.
Yep.
That's just impossible. So someone's going to play 8 and 2 Power 4 teams. Uh,
Hmm.
this also just is so much more complicated because 5 teams have to play Notre Dame, or at least are slated to play Notre Dame every year.
Yeah.
They could break the contract. I don't know how we'll see how that goes. Tech is one of the weird ones, along with Florida State, Clemson, and a couple others that have a permanent cross conference rival and mostly
Yeah.
SEC rival. And we play Georgia every year. Those games are guaranteed at least through 2036, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So that's not going anywhere anytime soon, and probably never ever will. Which means that we already had 4 non-conference games booked next year. One of them, Big Tennessee, who we killed the Marta Bowl for against Georgia State, to go up to Knoxville next year. Or are they coming here this year?
They're
No,
they're
they're
coming.
coming. They're supposed to
Yep.
come here. That's right. This
Supposed to be
could be the
coming to
Mercedes.
Atlanta. Yep.
It could be a Mercedes-Benz game as well. Uh, one, I don't think this comes to any surprise. I'll just how
Yeah.
this seems like this was coming down the pipe for a while. The math obviously doesn't make sense. What was your initial reaction once you saw everything go down?
I mean, yeah, definitely not surprised. I mean, everybody else is doing it, so like let's do it. I think like the sentimental part of my college football heart is a little bit sad because
Mhm.
being a Georgia Southern alum and sort of rooting for the group of 5 folks, like that to me, that's one less opportunity for an App State to go beat Michigan, right? To
Yep,
like
yep.
for some of these teams to get bigger paydays. It's more separation. I mean, I don't think it's going to make a ton of difference for Georgia Tech. They've been scheduling up anyway these next
Mhm.
couple years, and maybe you might have to kick Mercer off the schedule. What's going to be interesting, I think some of these teams, I think I read it was, I think Virginia and NC State this year that played a non-conference game against
Yes,
each other.
yes, correct. Yeah,
So like that, do ACC teams start scheduling each other as non-conference game? I don't know. Like the math is crazy. Contracts are going to be broken. It's great. I think it's great for the fans in terms of like you get to see big time names. You get
sure.
Colorado's coming to Atlanta, Tennessee's coming to Atlanta. You get to go back to those places.
Yeah,
Um, but I think the reason I fell in love with college football and really to that extent European soccer is seeing some of the little guys knock off the big guys, and those opportunities are sort of diminished now a
yeah.
little bit. But it is what it is, and who knows, 10 years from now it might all fall apart and change back the other way. But I don't think it's going to make a whole lot of difference of how Georgia Tech's future schedules really look because they already got to play Georgia
Yeah,
anyway. So there's your 10th, P4 game. And
exactly. Yeah.
instead of playing a Mercer or a Gardner Webb, you're going to have to play Virginia or Wake Forest.
It feels like a micro step towards the separate, like the
Yeah.
real potential, like Super League separation thing. The natural
Mhm.
logistical end conclusion to all this in 2030 when the television contracts break. Um, if that happens, who the hell knows if anything like
Yeah.
that's going to
Yeah.
happen? But it's one of those like you just do one little thing, you move the Overton window a little bit, just
Yep.
keep slightly shuffling and shuffling that direction. And I mean, competitive games are, I mean, yes, they're awesome, they're good.
Sure.
People, Tech is now are they just the Indiana of last year mold of like they can beat everyone they play during the season, but when you put them in a really tough environment somewhere else in the country, what the hell is going to happen?
Yeah.
Um, and at least for the time being, uh, we have not seen Tech have a classic SEC schedule where they can win 9 of those games and still be very, very competitive on the national landscape. So
Yeah.
part of me is like, is this going to be good for us? Because we
Mhm.
have some really, really tough games just already slated aside from the conference part of the schedule that
Yeah.
is not going to make life easy for Tech. And if they're forced to shoehorn in another one of these kinds of games instead of playing immersion or playing these local schools that do add like us. Tech has 5 other options aside from
Yeah,
UGA to play another school from the state, which is awesome whenever it happens too.
sure.
Like I love like yes, the easy ones are nice. You get to see the kids play, but it's just good for it feels good for the health of the sport as well because those fans deserve as much as anybody else the chance to go see good teams play too. Like if you go to Coastal Carolina, like that's a life choice kind of thing you have to do for yourself. That's not related to football, but
Yeah,
there's the reason why those teams should be able to go play South Carolina, should be able to come down and play at Athens and things like that. And this just kind of squeezes them out of the picture, which as a guy who loves the fact that we have 137 potential national champions at the beginning of the year, it kind of sucks that we're taking away from that. As you mentioned, the little guy, like you lose the Leicester
yeah,
Cities of the world in this situation.
yeah. I mean, you do, and man, just spitballing off the top of my head, but who knows? I mean, maybe they, you know, grew up in an era where they played 11 regular season college football games, and now it's been
Fair.
12. Who's to say they don't move it to 13? But then do they expand the playoff and cut back on regular season games? Who knows? Is there going to be another split where there's this 32 team mega conference or 64 team mega conference, and then another iteration of the FCS? Yeah, it's all crazy, and yet we keep coming back because we love it so much. It just is a little, I don't know. It's just old man yells at cloud situation, right? Like, what about the
Yeah.
little guy? But again, it is what it is. It's not going to stop me from covering it, or us from going to the games, or us watching every single Saturday. That's for sure.
No, that's true. The sport is as entertaining as it's ever been, even if
Yeah,
there's pieces of it that's just like I don't want any of this to ever exist. Bring me back to however, I mean, I'm not fully on bring me back to the BCS because I think there
yeah,
is some level of the human eye helping with all this kind of thing. But at the same time, it's like there were simpler days where we got
yeah,
to the same end point regardless of what was going on. The fact that someone's the 11th team, the ranked team, name me an 11th
yeah,
ranked team in the country that was like, yeah, they're a national title contender. Like when?
yeah. I
That just doesn't happen.
I think I think I heard someone on, maybe it was national radio, talk about how the college football would really really love to be the NFL in terms of like everybody gets the same equal shot and
Yeah,
X
yeah,
number of teams and divisions, and you win your it's all
hmm
winning based, right?
yeah,
It's never going to be that way in college football because, and you mentioned Tech's schedule this year. There's no Louisville, there's no SMU, there's no
mm-mm.
Florida State, there's no Miami. Yeah, they beat Clemson, and Clemson's 1-3. So like, and then some of the other teams got to play everybody, and they
Yeah,
might end up 8-4, and then you have arguments. Well, it's who's stronger, who played who, how do you measure all that? That's
yeah,
just the way college football is always going to be, even if you go to this mega model super conference situation.
yeah. That's a whole thing. Fine. A world where this sport finds a way to just where the sheer wins and losses determines
Yeah.
things, it'll make things a lot easier on folks, that's for sure,
Yes.
because if you can eliminate the most deserving argument, which is a subjective science at
Yeah.
best, like there's a few
Mhm.
things you can naturally agree on, but like you're gonna run out. It's just gonna become. It's like it just becomes art at that point. Like
Yeah.
I like running styles of football. Okay, cool. I'm a dolly guy. Like
Yeah.
your look, how you view those things just completely changes and whatnot. Um, all right, Wake Forest. Where have you done any pre-research? Where's your head at for this game?
Well, Georgia Tech on paper should win handily, but that's not how these things work. And
Hmm.
you mentioned earlier, Wake Forest has had a bye week, which you never know. Like sometimes that re-energizes a team and helps them get healthy and helps them get better.
Yeah,
Sometimes it goes the other directions, and there's noon kickoff and they're rusty and not ready to go yet. But they have a great running back and they have a first year coach. And they got nothing to lose playing undefeated ranked Georgia Tech coming to town on
no,
family weekend. So what that line opened at like 16, 15, something
some,
like that.
yeah,
That's a big, big line on the road in league play, no
yeah.
matter who you are. So I'm not saying this will be a squeaker, but does Georgia Tech play anything else but squeakers at the fourth
That
quarter?
this is true.
So, and I mean, Tech's defense, take it for what it's worth. The rush defense hasn't been shut down at this
No,
point,
not at
and they're
all.
facing a good running team with a good running back. So
Yep.
that's something to keep your eye on early on at the start of this week.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just looking at their game on paper profile, I'm ignoring the Kennesaw State game where they won 10-9. That's just week one things. And
Well,
then they played Western Carolina, put up 42 as they probably
mm,
should have against Kennesaw State, and then lost by 10 to North Carolina State in a very strange, very
yeah,
ACC game. Um, there is some like, how good are they really? Their offensive EPA stats look putrid. but
Yeah.
that's not representative of the full thing as well. Their rushing stats look. It says they're 112th in EPA rushing. That's not going to be
Yeah.
the case when the season ends. So there is a little bit of that. So we'll see what's going on. I mean, this is the first ACC game where Tech is like in a decade where they're truly like, okay, they are hands down a massive favorite.
Yeah.
Fully, if they play their game, they'll win by a lot. Like that is
Yeah.
this is a new reality for this. Like
Yeah.
they got to that point. They reached that level of play after beating Clemson. So they just had to wait 2 weeks to actually play the next game
Yeah.
where they actually live through that experience. Temple, this changes. I mean, that's the game that should go this way no matter what.
Yeah.
But this Wake game it's in this mold of expectation. What does the play match the expectation at this level now? And they'll have to do it 3-4 times in a row here.
And I hope that, and I think they will. I think Tech will embrace this. I think they've sort of been waiting for this and saying, all right, let's have a little bit of swagger to us. We're coming into your house. Yeah, we're a ranked team. Yeah, we're undefeated. Like, so what? Watch us come play football. I just sort of get that vibe from, the Haynes Kings of the world and the Jamal Hayneses of the world and Malik Rutherford and Kyle Eford. I mean, Clayton Powell, even like, all right, like the days of Georgia Tech being an underdog are over, and let's go out there and play Georgia Tech football and show the world, that we are worthy of this ranking and are undefeated, and sort of get out to a big lead and put teams away. That's how I think they should handle it. Whether they do or not, I don't know. But I think they've sort of, like Brenke said, earned the right to be in this position. Now they got to go prove that they are those guys. So I think they should take that mindset.
Absolutely. I think from what we saw in the press conference, that is exactly where their head. Like I distinctly the image of Jamal Haynes just like staring at whoever was asking a question of just like you could tell without him talking that he was utterly displeased.
Yeah.
And they all wanted to be like, we want to play again so we can just fix this mess. Like
Yeah.
I say mess after they scored 45 points, but like they know they made a mess of themselves compared to what their standard is. And we've seen how good they can be. You don't win 7 ranked ACC games by accident. That's for damn
Right.
sure.
But hey,
so
7-1 against ranked ACC teams, right?
yeah.
What does that make them against unranked ACC teams?
Let's not talk
Eight,
about that.
8-8.
Good Lord. Good Lord. Well, that Coastal
Don't tell
Chaos.
anybody. Let's keep that between us. Don't tell anyone.
Coastal Chaos did expand to the other coasts, so it was the Pandora's box of football. So all right, that'll be that game. I will not be at the game, nor will Jackson Caudell be at the wedding because I gotta go see that guy get married.
He's just happy it wasn't, the Clemson game or something else.
Thank God. Now my brother's getting married next fall on a Saturday, and I'm just praying to God it's not the Tennessee weekend at this point because he might be hearing from me. He might be hearing from me. We'll find out. We'll find out. Anyways, Chad, I have to keep you for the Section 103 bit.
Sure.
Because it sounds
I
like
love those guys.
You sound like you like the products now.
Love Section 103.
What they got Georgia Southern now. It's getting around the place. I got the first picture of you wearing a Georgia Southern Section 103 hat. I can't confirm. Stephen with the team saw it. He loved it. If you're a Southern fan,
I may have sent the merch page to a lot of friends and alums. So
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. It was the Southern stuff. I mean, this is a Tech, but Southern's one of my favorite not Tech schools. I would honestly wear some of this gear. It looks fantastic.
Okay. Yeah.
It
Hop
looks
aboard.
Good.
Hop aboard with the 2-2 Eagles. Let's go.
I don't mind it at all. You can, if you'd like, use our code FTRS to get 10% off for any Georgia Tech gear or Georgia Southern gear on the site, and it's free shipping over $90. Does Southern play any ranked teams this year? Do you know? Do they have any other? Or is it just conference play from here on out?
Not at the moment. They played at Fresno, who's 4-1 now. They played at USC, who's up there in the top 25 now. James Madison was a dark horse in the Sun Belt, but they're kind of off to a little bit of a slow start.
It's been shaky there, yeah.
Yeah, and that's it this year. I don't think the Sun Belt is going to sniff the playoff this season. Doesn't appear so. I mean, they got some good quality teams as always, but I think there'll be maybe a 9 or 10 win team in there, but probably not a playoff team this year.
That makes sense. Well, if you ever do beat a ranked team, whatever they're ranked, it'll be that % off for the rest of the day.
Okay.
So just schedule hard next year, and the cash will come flowing. They also have LSU gear. which I'm personally not fond of because I was an Auburn fan growing up, but it's there if you
Mm,
need it. You
sure.
can find all that at section103.com or at section103 on Twitter. Chad, thanks for hanging out. I
Yeah,
assume
man.
rambling about volleyball doesn't need your time at the moment. So, any last parting words for the fans before we go?
No, no, I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for giving me hell. I can say hell. Thanks for giving me hell on Twitter. So I love it. And thanks for reading the soon to be all digital Atlanta Journal Constitution.
Oh man, we'll save that podcast for another day.
All
All
right,
right.
man.
Thanks, Chad.
See ya.
All right, with that, let's dive into some volleyball. They lost to Georgia again. It was really frustrating. The game was at McCamish Pavilion. They set another record for the attendance another record attendance for a game at Georgia Tech for a volleyball game, which is really cool to see. At the very least, um, but this was a insanely frustrating game. Uh, Tech had won the opening set. Set three was very long, won 29-27, and then Georgia came back and won the final two sets. Uh, not much competition, I'll say. It was sort of there, but it sort of wasn't. The big thing here is the inexperience is still very much showing. Mimi Mambu, Lamine Mambu was all right hitting, but she had a lot of errors. She had nearly half of her, we had 36 attack errors, and 15 of them were hers. Which I don't want to down her or anything like that. She is there is clear signs that she's going to be okay. And she's going to be good. She has a really powerful swing. She can get high up in the air. Like you can tell that there is a lot there coming with Mambu. I think in an alternate world where Tech usually has a stack of some seniors and has some seniors that are still playing, you don't see Mambu as much. So she can develop and things like that. But just with how it's stacked up to who was graduating when and who they had on the roster, you ended up just having lots of open outside hitter slots and this weird rotation of players. And she has to play most of the time now. They've and in times where she's just missing and whatnot, Michelle will pull her out. We'll see some of the other backups. We'll see Bielewski go in. We'll see Fedorowicz go in, and that's gone to varying ranges of success. Gabby, what's her name? Annika Groom was better. She had her career high 15 kills, which was good to see. So she was becoming a more stable, relatively compared to how the rest of the season has gone, attack person in the lineup. The sucky part about this, though, is that because we lost, the 92-93 straight weeks in the rankings has ended. Tech is now unranked. They were receiving votes at 27th, but the 5+ years of being in the rankings has ended, which kind of sucks. So there's that. Also in this game, Georgia had nearly a set's worth of service errors. So in all the attack errors we gave them, they nearly gave them all back in service errors. So there's a lot of free points going around. This was not a clean game by any stretch of the imagination for either team. And I think that's just emblematic of where this team is more than anything. Like they beat number 15 Purdue on their court. Fantastic. It's early season. Teams lose matches like that. A lot of what's going on here is there's just not enough experience here, and that's fine. We knew this was going to happen. You gotta play through it with volleyball. These college teams are known for developing and not being instantly good. They're not like college basketball teams where you got really good freshmen. They win a bunch of games. You almost win the NCAA tournament and then they're gone. This is not how this team has ever operated. That's not how they're going to operate, and that is fine. Um, with the players we have, with the floor of this team, though, that's the thing, is that the players we are starting right now are good. Like they are clearly good enough to be starting at the college level. It varies. If it's not the standard tech lineup, it's somewhere else in the ACC probably. So they're definitely going to be better soon, which is the really and that's where I'm choosing to live right now, is this position of hope that this team definitely has what it takes to get really good with the players they have, knowing how well Michelle and Claudio and Vinny Bygone have developed players in these last few years. So I'm not worried. The record may not be great this year. That is fine. This stuff goes through cycles in sports like this still. It's not quite as transfer portal crazy. The best teams that have historically been the best teams are still the best teams when they're developing their own talent. So there's that going on. This weekend they have two home matches. They got Miami and they've got Florida State, which is very nice that this is happening now, because usually we play these two teams late in the season and they usually destroy our seasons. But obviously it's a little bit different. It's not like coming into these games undefeated going into ACC play or anything like that. But I'm just glad we get these particular games in September instead of late or mid-November. So that's where volleyball's at. They're 5-4, so there's still a shot. There's a chance they're have a losing record by the end of the weekend. There's a shot they have or they're still in the plus 500 at the end of the week. We'll see what happens. Golf was over at the Olympia Fields Fighting Illini Invitational. We finished tied for sixth. They climbed spots each of the final 2 days. Cale Fontenot hit a 66 on Sunday. I believe he hit an ace as well. So this for the 18th ranked team in the country, there were some good teams out there. This is fantastic. They're showing they're getting warm. They're getting good. I still am putting golf in terms of our very unrealistic teams most likely to win a national title at Tech. I would still put golf in that spot. We still have Hiroshi Tai, who has literally won an individual national title. So golf can still be very good. I fully expect them to be at the NCAA championships again this year. We'll just see how that all pans out. Tennis had some ITA qualifying stuff at the All-American Championships. Not really any news there. So we'll come back to that next week once everything is done. And one note on just general Georgia Tech news. So the Curran Street dorm that is going up on the at the 10th Street and Northside Drive intersection, right by the Woodruff Residence Hall that's been decommissioned, and the parking lot next to that. So this can have 800 new beds. We talked about this on previous pods. It was announced today by the Institute that it is going to be named the Bud and Val Peterson Residence Hall, named after them after their Bud served 10.5 years as Georgia Tech's president, finishing in 2019, and Val Peterson was equally, if not very, they were a team when it came to serving Georgia Tech. It was not just Bud and Val in the background. Val was extremely in the forefront, helping and doing everything she could to help Tech students and the general Tech community, and they still do. Bud was a professor emeritus for a while after his presidency, helping with some grad students, and Val's still been around helping in various ways and means. If you would like to meet Val Peterson, you can on the Friday of homecoming, so right before the Midi 500 at 2 o'clock. There is going to be a tour of the president's house. I am helping run this. Val will be there to talk about the president's house. This will be a time where you can, I guess, legally go there, because we'll have the doors open to people. It won't be us going in there with the field goal post or anything like that. But if you haven't had the chance to meet Val Peterson, I would highly recommend it. She is a wonderful human being. And just one of the best that Tech's ever had. So I think this is a very deserved honor to have a very prominent and important building, may I say, dedicated to them. So that is good stuff there. Next week we should have all three of us back. For if you want to read our stuff from the Rumble Seat, you can do so at fromtherumbleseat.com. We're doing recaps of all the games this fall. We got columns by Chris Paschal. We got columns by Maggie Scroggs. We got pick'ems going on. It's all fun and games there. You can find our ramblings going on and live coverage of games at FTRS blog on Twitter or on Blue Sky. You can find section 103 there as well. Section 103. All of our stuff is posted on Facebook. It's posted on Blue Sky. It's posted on Twitter if you need to find it there. The podcast itself is wherever you find podcasts. It's also on YouTube as well. If you haven't ever press the like. If you're listening on Spotify, you can rate it on your phone if you just have 2 seconds. That'd be awesome. That'd really help. Because we know there's a lot of people that would like to listen to this podcast who are gaining in their fandom, and part of how we cultivate more and more fans to stick around for a long time and come to the stadium all the time and fill up Bobby Dodd and Philip McCamish and Philip O'Keefe and things like that, and Russ Chandler, is by just having multiple points of engagement. And the more people we know that there's podcasts like this out there, even if they don't listen every week, it goes a long way in helping cultivate the overall fan experience at Georgia Tech. So that's part of why we're here to do this, is to have a place for people to come and hear about the school, find out things they maybe have known before, but help cultivate their fandom as well as supporting the school and everything they do. So that's all we've got. My name is Jack Purdy. You can find me on the interwebs at Jack Nicholas. Thank you for listening. Go Jackets.